The amount of energy and excitement at this time of the year wakes up in me always takes me by surprise, even though I experience this every spring. I'm convinced I'm not the only one who feels this way, but the longer days, the sun, the warmth, the trees that are about to bloom, like it all puts me in such a good mood. I have an easier time getting out of bed. Today specifically, I felt like dressing up a little bit and putting on some makeup, which is not something that I typically do. And then I was even ready to run out the door and hunt for magnolia trees in this new neighborhood of ours, until I looked outside the window. March, in her typical transitional fashion, she loves to keep me guessing about the weather because she's sneaky like that. It looks like it snowed a little bit last night. What can you do? One day it's 70 degrees Fahrenheit, the next it's 11 degrees. You need a wool jacket in the morning, but then it's t-shirt weather in the afternoon. You know the drill this time of the year. This is just how the temperature is. But it's all good. It's all good because these are just signs that change is around the corner and warmer days are yet to come. Also, I was in too good of a mood to let a little bit of snow stop me. I really wanted to record this video today. It's something that I've been thinking about for a little bit. And hey, a girl's gotta take advantage of spring energy, right? I'm hoping that I did a good job setting this corner up. I wanted to have plants, I wanted to have flowers. I grew up in Romania surrounded by lovely bouquets of flowers, especially in March. Over there, it's customary to shower the people you love, and especially the women in your lives, like your mom, your grandmother, your teacher, and so on, with flowers and little gifts. Like, I remember almost no day in March went by without giving or receiving flowers. Now pair that with warmer, longer days, and it's just such a beautiful way to start adding a little bit of color to your life, especially after the cold months of the winter. In Romania, we also have some unique traditions to welcome spring, and it got me curious, like, how do people around the world celebrate the arrival of warmer days? I'm aware of some celebrations, but I did some additional reading and found some really interesting things that I want to share with you. Not in a boring lesson kind of way. I want this to feel more like a conversation over coffee or tea or your drink of choice. I plan on showing you some photos, maybe sharing a little bit of basic information, and then tell you what I personally found interesting and what caught my attention about these spring celebrations. If you happen to know more, or even better, if you have any firsthand experience with any of these traditions, like, I would love for you to share about them in the comment sections. This is part of what really makes YouTube special, in my opinion. It's learning from each other's experiences. It also makes this a little less of a monologue and more of a conversation between us. I really don't want this to be one-sided. I want us to explore, I want us to be curious together, and share the joy of spring. So today, let's do exactly that. Let's be curious together and explore some spring traditions from around the world. You might know about a few of them already, like I'm gonna talk about Holi in India, or the famous like cherry blossom trees in Japan. But others, like Martisor from Romania, they may be completely new to you. Humans have always paid attention to the world around them, often out of necessity, especially back in the day. You know, they noticed the sun rising higher at certain times of the year. Maybe they looked at the moon cycle. They noticed that the days were getting longer. And there are other signs in nature that they were able to pick on and use to their advantage, so they're able to like prepare for the months to come. Over time, these observations became like more than just survival. I'm sure they inspired ways to celebrate and honor the seasons, whether through traditional festivals, maybe rituals, or simple customs. And these practices get passed down from one generation to the next. The details, of course, they differ because they are shaped by the culture, the beliefs, the local environment, history, religion, and so on. But to me, the feeling behind it seems to be universal, and that across the world, people have found ways to celebrate renewal. I absolutely love that, because it makes me realize that we are more alike than different. And speaking of renewal, let's start our journey in Romania with one of my favorite traditions, which is called Mărțișor. It's celebrated every year on March 1st. or I should say it's being celebrated every year starting on March 1st, but it's also celebrated throughout the month of March. The name literally means Little March. At its core, Martisor is about giving this one small token tied around the red and white string to the people in your life that you love, that you admire, that you care about. And it's a little symbol of hope, good luck, and new beginnings. The colors have meanings too. Many say that the red part of the string represents vitality and energy, while the white symbolizes purity. Growing up, I also heard it explained a little differently. I was personally told that white represents the snow and the cold days, the cold months, and then red is the warmer days to come. Honestly, like many traditions, the symbolisms can vary a little bit depending on who you ask. But what surprised me when I started reading about it, it's just how old this tradition is. It goes back thousands of years. It's believed to have roots in Dacian customs, later mixed with influences from the Roman times. Just a small parenthesis, the Dacians were the people who lived in what is now Romania, long before the region became part of the Roman Empire. We're talking more than 2,000 years ago. But interestingly, the Romans actually celebrated March 1st as the beginning of the new year for a very long time. Their calendar was closely tied to the cycles of nature, agriculture, and naturally, early spring, when land started to come back to life, felt like the obvious choice and moment to begin a new year. Also, quick fun fact, the reason why some of our month names are a little bit confusing, we do now start the year with January, and we consider that the first month, and therefore September, October, November, and December, we consider that month 9, 10, 11, and 12 respectively. However, if you look at their names actually come from Latin. It's related to the Latin word for 7, 8, 9, and 10. That's because in the old Roman calendar, the year originally started in March, so they consider that month 1. I thought that was an interesting fun fact. Back to Mărțișor. Originally, the charms of the Mărțișor were very simple. They were like either painted stones, bits of silver, coins, or small trinkets, and they're always worn for luck and protection. Today, you'll find all kinds of tiny charms attached to this red and white string. The classic ones would be a 4-leaf clover, a chimney sweeper. You'll find horseshoes, but then there are many charms that are just related to spring. So you'll see a lot of flowers. A snowdrop is a traditional flower that we associate with spring a lot. Maybe ladybugs. I have a few Mărțișoare around here, and I was hoping I can share them with you. If you can't see them too well here, I'll make sure to do a close-up, but this is a typical one. It has a little snowdrop. It has the red and white string. I'm also wearing one. These I made by myself. Now that I live in Massachusetts in the United States, it's actually pretty hard for me to find Mărțișoare from a place and purchase them. But this year, for the first time, I decided to make a bunch of them by hand. It was a completely new experience for me. They actually turned out better than I expected. I have 2 of them here. I decided to make this one with a horseshoe, and then this other one with a 4-leaf clover. I tried to put a little bit of information on the back about the tradition and what it entails, just so people, when they look at it, they can reference it. It honestly made me so happy to share this piece of tradition with my current coworkers. It's something that it means a lot to me. They received it very well, and they seem to enjoy it as well, so that filled my heart with joy. And now I'm excited to share it here with you as well. So, happy spring. The way people wear the Martisor is also part of the tradition. It usually stays on throughout March, sometimes until the first trees are in bloom or until people spot the first stork returning. And I love that little detail because it shows again just how many traditions are closely connected to the local environment, to the animals, just to the rhythm of nature. Something that I found interesting is that Romania isn't the only place with a tradition like this one. Neighboring countries such as Moldova also celebrate Mărțișor, but there's something very similar in Bulgaria, for example. People celebrate Martenita. I might be pronouncing it wrong. I don't mean to do it on purpose. Just like Mărțișor, they wear a similar token in the month of March. And in Greece, it's my understanding that there's a similar tradition. People wear like a red and white bracelet around the wrist. All of them carry similar meaning. It's for protection, it's for good luck, it's welcoming spring. And I love seeing how traditions like this travel across regions and cultures, and each place adds like its own little twist to it. And then of course the celebration of spring doesn't stop in this part of the world. Across the globe, people have come up with beautiful, unique, interesting ways to welcome the new season. In India, for example, one of the most famous spring celebrations takes place over here, Holi. It's often called the Festival of Colors, so you might know it by that name. During Holi, people seem to gather outside and they throw bright colored powders and water in the air. It fills the air with these like clouds of pink and yellow, green, red. It's just joyful. It's incredibly vibrant from what I hear. And the festival has roots in ancient Hindu traditions and celebrates the triumph of like good over evil, but it also has strong ties with the arrival of spring. Fun fact, many of those colorful powders were originally made from, to my understanding, like flowers and natural plants, which it's kind of nice to see that it connects the celebration even more closely to nature. Another celebration would be the cherry blossom season in Japan. Spring is closely associated with blooming of cherry blossom trees, celebrated through a tradition called Hanami. It seems like it's being translated as flower viewing. Do correct me if I'm wrong. When the cherry tree blooms, people gather in parks with friends, with families. They bring food, they sit under the blossoms, and they enjoy the moment together. Because one thing that really makes this special and meaningful is the fact that these blossoms only last for about 1 to 2 weeks. So the tradition is also about appreciating the beauty and the good times while they last. And while Japan's cherry blossoms are famous, other countries also celebrate spring flowers in their own way. Like you may be very well familiar with Canada and the Netherlands and how they have like massive tulip festivals that mark the season and bring communities together. Now, a new celebration I came across, it's not something that I knew before I did this reading. It's called Nowruz. It really caught my attention. It seems like it means new day. It's celebrated in Iran and across other parts of Central Asia, and it happens right at the spring equinox. Equinox, it's that time of the year when the day and night are almost equal in length. What I loved about this tradition is like how thoughtful and symbolic it is. It sounds like families like refresh their homes for spring, kind of like a big seasonal reset, and then they set up something called half-sin table. I'm gonna write it somewhere on the screen, but it's an arrangement of 7 items, and each one represents something positive for the year ahead. Maybe it's symbolizing health, beauty, patience, renewal, prosperity, like all kinds of hopeful things. Some families even add a little extra touches. I was reading somewhere that they might add like a mirror as a symbol of like reflection, looking back at the past year, painted eggs because they associate eggs with fertility, and so on. But the celebration itself can last over a week. You visit with family, you share meals with friends, you embrace the idea of letting go of the old, and you welcome the new. I really love how Nowruz blends nature and family and hope, and it feels like another example of what we've been talking about, like noticing the world around us, celebrating it, and doing it with the people that we care about. Another tradition that I found fascinating happens in Teotihuacan, Mexico. Also at the spring equinox, thousands of people gather there to watch something that seems to be pretty remarkable. I'm gonna try to find some pictures to better describe it, but it sounds like people go there, they climb the pyramids, they watch the sunrise together, and they share that moment in awe with others. Of course, there are so many more other traditions that I didn't even cover today, and to be honest, even the ones that I brought up, they still have so many more details to them. I would need hours and hours just to talk about one, let alone the 4 or 5 that I mentioned here briefly. I do hope that you found some of this interesting. Maybe it even sparked your curiosity to dive a little deeper into it, maybe one of these celebrations. I'm hoping that I encouraged you enough to maybe share some of the traditions in your life and your culture here with us in the comments. Like, I love to hear from people and I love to learn from them and their stories. Regardless, I really appreciate your time if you've watched this far. I look forward to seeing you in the next video.